It's another beautiful day to be us. Looking at it through a new pair of glasses, we look at it through a positive rather than a negative. It just seems to make life a little bit better. A little bit better. Even if it's for a minute. We just take that 1 minute of serenity and peace and hold on to it. You know, we have a tendency to, it says, let go and let God. And I used to let go, let God, and then let Randy. Let go, let God, let Randy. It was a tug of war all day long. And that's okay. Just as long as you just give everything to God, let Him take control of it, because you have no control over it. The only thing that we have control over really is the way we respond to our own emotions and feelings and to what people say. We have no control over people, places, or things. I used to think I could control my wife. Men out there, you know you can't control your wives. It just doesn't work. What it does, what I found it does, and it just pushes the wives farther away from us. They get resentful. They get angry. So I just had to learn to, this Pastor Obed one time told me, or actually it was a service, it was a Lion and Lamb service, and he says, you know, if you got your wife's wings tied, you need to clip them and let them fly. And my therapist had told me that a couple of years ago in my therapy session with Kathy. And, you know, in recovery I'd started doing that, but for some reason that day I really listened to what was said. It really hit me differently. And I clipped my wife's wings, and I quit trying to control what she does. And I've watched her over the course of since 2012 we got to church, and I watched her just blossom into a beautiful woman. I mean, she's always been a beautiful person. That's why I married her. So she's just got this wonderful heart, wonderful spirit of God, and loving, caring. She's a great mother. She's a great grandmother. She's a wonderful wife. But when I clipped those wings and let her fly, I've just watched her blossom into something I never imagined possible in my life. Because for many years I didn't think I deserved it, because of what happened to me as a child, and I was always told I was worthless. You'll never amount to nothing. You're an idiot. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but none of that's true. Those are all lies that were being told to me to silence me and shut me down as a child, as a young adult. But I know that today I'm so much more than that, and I deserve Kathy. You know, God, when I met Kathy, and people that have known me for the 37 years that Kathy and I have been married, I have always said, if there's angels on earth, I married one. And I mean that wholeheartedly, and even today. She's not perfect. I mean, none of us are perfect, but I don't even believe angels are perfect. You know, I mean, come on. But there's no woman that I know would have stood by my side the way she has. And there's a lot of women that look at me and go, you don't know how lucky you are. And yeah, I do. I know how lucky I am, and I'm grateful for that. So, you know, that was one of the tragedies in our marriage was the affair. A big tragedy. I mean, it blindsided Kathy. She didn't know where it was coming from, but again, it happened, and I like to talk about it only because I know there's a lot of people out there that are going through what we went through, or have gone through it and are still struggling. They just can't seem to grasp the word forgiveness and let go of things. And you know, Kathy still, at points, something will happen. She'll hear something and she'll get triggered, and that's okay. You know, she has a right to. But what she doesn't do is she doesn't attack me for it. She just simply comes and talks to me and tells me what's going on, and this situation bothers me. And all I can do is say, you know what, I understand. I understand perfectly, and you have a right to feel that way, because I hurt you back then, and I know that pain doesn't go away. And just know that I love you, and I'm not going nowhere. I'm always going to be here for you. I got you, and I got the kids, I got the grandkids. I don't want to lose that. And not once in our 37 years of marriage has Kathy or myself ever thrown anything from the past in each other's face. It doesn't do no good. It just causes more harm. Even in the midst of all of our turmoil, everything we fought about, argued about, was in the moment, and it was ugly. But through recovery, through a lot of mentoring, a lot of help with my therapist, with my mentors, Kathy and I's marriage is just unbelievable. It's as good as it's better than I ever imagined. Okay, but the tragedy helped us. I know it sounds funny, but here's what the tragedy forces us to struggle with God. In a lot of ways, it does force us to struggle with God. We're shaken out of our indifference and roused to engage in the relationship. And many of us for the very first time. I mean, those nights sitting there, he was just shaking the core of me. He was rattling my cage. There's a mountain out here everybody hikes. Bump and grind. What the heck is a bump and grind? Well, in the world of recovery, it's called Magic Mountain. And I used to hike it a lot, 3 or 4 days a week. And it was during these hikes that I wrestled with God, questioning all the tragedy that it endured in my life. I would question it and go back and forth with him. And we'd have these conversations for an hour, going up and back and up, But it was during these wrestling matches that I finally surrendered to God, because I was tired of fighting. See, it's that acceptance again. I surrendered to God. I had to accept what had happened to me. I had to accept these tragedies in my life. My father dying, my grandfather dying, right? All these tragedies that I had in my life, that I was just in this wallow of pity. I had to accept them and then surrender everything to God, because if I'm not accepting, what am I doing? I'm fighting. And it just wears you out. But it did help me. It helped me get through those hard times. It was during these wrestling matches that I finally surrendered to God. Like I said, finally I was tired of it, because he was just let me talk. It sounds weird. I know I'm up there on the mountain talking like some kind of wacko guy, but hey, it was like, hey, it worked for me. There's a quote. It says, "Struggle with God is the essence of relationship with God," writes James Emery White. "The struggle to make sense of the world leads us to the foot of God's throne. In the midst of that struggle is where we find Him." The struggle to make sense of the world, which I think a lot of people are doing right now, it leads us to the foot of God's throne. On our knees, God, why is this happening? Why, Lord? And it's in that midst of that struggle, and we find God because we seek Him out, because we want answers, and we fall at our knees at His feet. God, help me understand this. I don't get it. It's always when I'm struggling the most that I crawl to the foot of God. Always. What I was doing did not work. And what did I have to lose by turning to God? If what you're doing isn't working, hey, we all have struggles. It's life. And if what you're trying to do by yourself, and maybe you're doing it with God already, that's good. But what do you have to lose? What does anybody have to lose by turning it over to God? I know what we have to lose by taking God out of everything. Just look at the mess we're in today. God's not there. And He ain't there. He's there, but He's just like, okay, well, this is what you want to do, then I'm not going to fight you. If we give up that struggle, we find ourselves in a state of indifference. When we stop fighting, we stop engaging with God. Asking questions, pursuing His truth. Then our faith becomes stale and stagnant. When we stop fighting is when we stop engaging with God. asking questions, pursuing His truth, then our faith becomes stale and stagnant. We've got to engage with God. We've got to. And we just got to say, okay, God. You get to a point to where you've wrestled with Him so much. You're fighting with Him so much. It's a back and forth pull. And you hear the answers, then you fight it. You hear the answers and you fight it. Right? That we just quit fighting and say, okay, I'm done. I'm tired. I can't do this no more. Right? But if we're not, if we're constantly asking God questions, constantly asking questions, constantly pursuing His truth, then our faith becomes stale and stagnant. Because we're starting to not to believe in Him, we're believing in ourselves. Because He gives us the answers. A lot of times the answers are in the Bible. I mean, when I talked to Pastor Nate last night about what I was going through, all the answers are right in the Bible, but I just needed to hear it from somebody else because my mind wasn't clear. In that 1 John 4:4-6. And also that we're not fighting flesh and blood, we're fighting principalities of darkness. I just didn't, I know it, but I just couldn't put it into play. And then Pastor Nate took his time and he talked me through it. It's like, okay, I got to remember that I'm not fighting these people. I'm fighting the principalities of darkness. It doesn't matter with the state, even your own battles, alcoholism, drug addiction, pornography. You know, if you're struggling with your husband, you're struggling with your wife. That's the enemy just trying to get in there and battle you. When you do your wedding vows, what God has put together, let no man tear apart. It's the enemy gets in there. It was only when I really started asking questions and challenging my false beliefs, okay? So we got this period of asking questions that, and challenging my false beliefs about God that had been ingrained in me since childhood, that I was able to find the real God I have in my life today. So you fight, you challenge, you fight, you challenge, you hear, you don't hear, you hear what you think you hear. And you just get to the point where I'm so tired of fighting. I'm tired. I'm not going to fight no more. I surrender. Right? And that's when you can clearly hear the answers to your questions. Because when we're fighting, we're always thinking about the next question. We're thinking about how we want to challenge them. Where we just say, you know what? I'm done. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still. Be. Then you'll hear the answers that you need to hear. If you can't read them in the Bible yourself, He will give them to you. Or somebody's going to come along and they're going to feed them to you. Just like happened to me last night. Okay? Here's another quote from Jimmy Evans. God could deliver us from pain, but instead He often chooses to deliver us through it. When you experience tragedy or have questions, take them to God. Engage Him. Don't be afraid to struggle. God brings beauty from our ashes. When I start working with people, my wife and I were this couple over this one-on-one, one of the first things I tell them in the first meeting is that you're going to have to walk through the pain and shame in your life one more time in order to heal. Why? Because you've been going over it and you've been going around it all your life. With drugs, with alcohol, pornography, with food, with even workaholics. You bury yourself and become successful. Right? You've been ignoring it. You've been stuffing it. It doesn't go nowhere. It's still there. And so you have to walk through it. You cannot go around it or over it no more. Dealing with it is not healing it. Like I said earlier, it's like my therapist told me that what happened in my life was God's business. It's like, come on. I don't want to hear that. You've got to have an answer, right? All right, so when I come back, we'll finish this up. Uh, Talking about how through tragedy, tremendous healing can come about. Tremendous healing can come about. So we're going to go and listen to Great Are You, Lord. Be blessed, everybody. This is Remnant Radio 100.1 FM.
You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. And great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only.
You give life.
You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. Pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. And all